This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, January 24th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
A federal judge temporarily blocks President Trump's executive order on changing birthright citizenship. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
The Senate is moving ahead with Pete Hegseth's Pentagon nomination despite misconduct allegations against him. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Firefighters are battling to maintain the upper hand on a huge fire north of Los Angeles.
A lot of firefighters can get hurt.
I'm Ed Donahue.
Purdue Pharma and its owners have agreed to pay in a settlement to lawsuits over the toll of OxyContin. I'm Haya Panjwani.
On Wall Street, the S&P 500 index opens at its first record high of the year today. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
An order from the president to release documents connected to the JFK assassination. I'm Clayton Nettle.
All ahead on America in the Morning. One of President Trump's first acts since beginning his second stint in the Oval Office was to sign an executive order that would redefine birthright citizenship. A federal judge put a temporary hold on that order. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
In a lawsuit brought by 4 states, District Court Judge John Coffenauer in Seattle ruled that the executive order signed by Trump was, quote, blatantly unconstitutional and issued a temporary hold. Following the ruling, Trump responded in the Oval Office.
No, obviously we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
Lawyers argued it violates the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868 to ensure that former slaves were assured citizenship. Trump and many House Republicans, like Congressman Andy Biggs, say immigrants in this country illegally are taking advantage of the law.
If the framers of the 14th Amendment would have known how abused the notion of birthright citizenship would be, which was not even a notion in the 1860s, they would have been absolutely stunned.
Members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, like Democrat Joaquin Castro, speaking out against many of Trump's early executive orders on immigration, including birthright citizenship.
Donald Trump and Republican politicians have embarked on a campaign to radically alter American society by stripping away constitutional, legal, and civil rights, ending birthright citizenship, and pushing people into the shadows.
Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown tells reporters it's clear the president cannot simply end birthright citizenship with the stroke of his pen.
This is step one, but to hear the judge from the bench say that in his 40 years as a judge, he has never seen something so blatantly unconstitutional sets the tone for the seriousness of this effort.
Trump's order would deny citizenship to anyone in this country born after February 19th of this year to parents who are in the country illegally. Julia Gillat of the Migrant Policy Institute says this case is likely to go to the nation's highest court.
These legal cases are probably going to take a long time, and they'll likely be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. And then we'll see how they interpret the 14th Amendment.
Until an appeal by the White House is heard in court, the order signed by the president will not go into effect. John Stolnis, Washington.
After clearing a key procedural vote, mostly on party lines, the Senate is advancing Pete Hegseth's nomination to be Defense Secretary. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, when the full Senate plans to vote, there are 2 Republicans who've said they will vote against Hegseth.
The Senate is moving ahead with Pete Hegseth's Pentagon nomination despite misconduct allegations against him. That sets up a final confirmation vote Friday after the Senate advanced Hegseth's nomination to be Secretary of Defense on a largely party line 51-49 vote.
Ms. Murkowski. No.
2 Republicans voted against Hegseth, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, the first GOP lawmakers to reject a Trump cabinet appointment. They joined all Democrats after Minority Leader Chuck Schumer spoke against Hegseth.
I want my colleagues to think about how absurd it is that this nominee has even made it to the floor. It's a shame that that has happened. We are being tasked to trust our armed forces to a man with a history of erratic behavior. One of the kindest words that might be used to describe Mr. Hegseth is erratic. And that's a quality you don't want as head of DOD.
But after the vote, the GOP's Bill Haggerty blamed a media smear campaign against Hegseth, who has faced allegations of heavy drinking and aggressive actions against women.
Pete Hegseth is someone who's going to fix the Pentagon and deliver on President Trump's vision of peace through strength. He's exactly the type of leader that the Pentagon needs in the face of a increasingly complex and escalating security situation that's occurring around the world.
Hegseth cited his combat experience as one reason to confirm him as defense secretary.
It's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm. A change agent
who would foster a warrior culture at the Pentagon. Hegseth only needs a simple majority to be confirmed, and most Republicans say they will back him, though Vice President J.D. Vance could be called in for what would be his first tie-breaking vote. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Opioids. Massive legal settlement. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Freeze warnings continue for areas of the South, and that's where we pick things up with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Some rather impressively cold air continues to sit over much of the South today, thanks to a potent area of high pressure in the region, including portions of the Gulf Coast states where snow and zones of ice remain in the wake of the rare winter storm to start the week. It's another dry day in store for much of the South as well, with even Florida drying out for the most part. Temperatures trending higher through the weekend will certainly play a large role in clearing away lingering frozen spots and areas of abnormally difficult travel, with highs in a city like New Orleans finally returning to the 50s today before likely reaching the mid-60s on Sunday. Farther to the north, cold air also remains very much entrenched over the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Northeast, where high temperatures continue to be 15 to 25 degrees below historical averages for many to end the work week. The highest chance for any precipitation will be in the northern part of this zone, where some flurries will dot parts of western Pennsylvania and West Virginia, while more substantial snow showers continue to roll off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. For the most part, areas downwind of the rest of the Great Lakes simply stand at risk for some flurries today. An area of steadier snow, or at least some flurries, is expected to stretch from eastern North Dakota toward the Minnesota-Wisconsin border zone, with a separate piece of energy producing intermittent snow and flurries from perhaps western Nebraska westward to the northern Rockies today. As this storm sinks southward through the weekend, some major relief from the heightened fire risk is expected to reach Southern California, along with the first widespread chance for rain in quite some time this weekend. Gusty winds do continue into the mid-morning hours of today, though. In Houston, look for sunshine today with a high of 55. For Erie, Pennsylvania, it's a cloudy and cold Friday with some snow showers and a high of only 20. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. As crews continue to deal with fires in Los Angeles, including the Hughes fire, which has already scorched more than 10,000 acres, 2 new wildfires have sprung up in the San Diego area with immediate evacuation orders. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Do not hesitate, do not stay, grab the necessary items and leave as quickly as you can. We're not talking about packing a suitcase. We're talking about packing a backpack and having it ready.
The Hughes fire quickly burned an area around Lake Castaic, about 40 miles away from the devastating Palisades and Eaton fires. Anna Gagurovich didn't wait long to evacuate.
Within 10 minutes, I knew it had already spread like a couple hundred acres. So just that kind of like rapid, motion was really scary. It felt a little more urgent than normal.
She spoke to KABC. More than 50,000 people are under evacuation orders or warnings. Jonathan Drucker is with Kern County Fire.
The terrain here is ugly. It's dangerous. A lot of firefighters can get hurt tumbling down a hill and things like that. So it is dangerous. However, it's not going to stop us. We're going to go in and we're just going to make sure that we do it safely.
Red flag fire warnings are in effect through tomorrow around Los Angeles. Rain is in the forecast this weekend, but that brings the threat of mudslides and debris flow. I'm Ed Donahue.
Massive multi-billion-dollar legal settlement in the opioid crisis. With details, here's correspondent Haya Panjwani.
Purdue Pharma and its owners have agreed to pay $7.4 billion in a settlement to lawsuits over the toll of OxyContin. Members of the Sackler family who own OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma and the company itself agreed to pay billions of dollars to settle lawsuits over the toll of the powerful prescription painkiller. The deal represents an increase of more than $1 billion over a previous settlement deal. The earlier deal was rejected by the Supreme Court last year. At a news conference celebrating the settlement, Kara Trainer, a Michigan woman in recovery for 17 years, addressed last year's ruling.
And I'm hoping that the entities that denied our settlement last time can take another look at what you took away from the people that have had their lives destroyed. And please do not do it again.
Besides this deal, there have been about $50 billion in opioid settlements announced in recent years. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Trump demands feds lower rates when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. More winning ways on Wall Street. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Stocks are coming off a winning day on Wall Street. When the markets open this morning, the S&P 500 index will be sitting at its first record high of the year.
You know, we got 57 new all-time highs last year. We're sort of just continuing along that track.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. And the Dow popped 400 points yesterday after President Trump said he wants interest rates down immediately and that oil prices should drop too. Oil is up 10% since the start of the year. Prices at the pump for American drivers are higher now, too. Although the Federal Reserve is independent from the White House, President Trump made a demand in the speech he gave to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.
I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately, and likewise, they should be dropping all over the world.
The comments are an initial strike at Fed officials. Lower interest rates, of course, are good for business. Costs them less money to borrow. It also boosts profits. Here's CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman.
The story is that the president had been in office for 3 days and had not said anything about the Federal Reserve. So here he is. He's doing what I think he did fairly prominently and often in his first term, and that is making comments about interest rates and demanding lower interest rates. And I think it's something the Fed, takes into account. Well, the president wants lower interest rates, but I don't think it affects them in terms of their making a policy.
American Airlines shares struggled. Even though quarterly results were good, the company said this current quarter could be soft. Alaska Airlines shares were up on strong quarterly results it recently bought. Hawaiian Airlines, the CEO told CNBC that airfares, yes, are higher, and not just at his airline.
Fares have gone up, and one of the primary reasons fares have gone up, I think it's maybe two things. One, on the cost side, since the pandemic, labor costs have gone up significantly. Airport costs have been hugely up across the entire country. And then the second component to that, what we're seeing is people buying up into the little more expensive, premium seats. I think it's driving some of that fare increase.
Alaska CEO Ben Minicucci on CNBC. Nepal raising the fee to climb Mount Everest for the first time in 10 years to $15,000. The country's trying to limit the number of climbers because the mountain is overcrowded. Netflix may have its best chance to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards this year with Emilia Perez. The film leads the pack with 13 total nominations. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from American Express and Verizon. We get existing home sales numbers for December. New in theaters, Lionsgate's Flight Risk, Neon's horror film Presence, and IFC's thriller Inheritance.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Malware lifting your computer passwords. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. President Trump is ordering the release of thousands of classified government documents tied to an assassinated president. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
President Donald Trump calling for the release of thousands of classified governmental documents connected to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Now, the executive order also looks to declassify the remaining federal records related to the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Trump has said this would happen and recently hinted at the move with Fox's Sean Hannity.
We're going to see the information. We're looking at it right now, but I'm going to release them immediately.
In a case that's drawn conspiracy theories for decades, the order directs the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General to develop a plan within 15 days to release the remaining JFK records and within 45 days for the other two cases. It's not clear, though, when the records would actually be released. I'm Clayton Neville.
If you haven't changed your passwords recently, here's a good reason to do so. Forbes is reporting that the 2025 breached password report from the Spec Ops software research team says more than 1 billion passwords have been stolen through malware, and that's just in the past 12 months. Info stealers search for and collect sensitive information by targeting browsers, emails, and file systems. Cyber criminals can then sell your passwords on the dark web. They urge people, make sure all your passwords are unique and strong, replace any that have been reused, and change them regularly. America in the Morning for Friday, January 24th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
A week of executive orders. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump is giving global elites an ultimatum. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump says he may withhold federal aid to California fire victims. I'm Sue Aller.
Concerning developments in this week's Nashville school shooting, questions of where to put illegals caught by ICE, and Trump backs his decision to lift top security clearances.
New orders issued from the White House regarding cryptocurrency regulation. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
A new thriller flies into movie theaters this weekend. I'm Kevin Carr.
And we'll have an Oscar preview when we return after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Wind speeds and humidity levels will be dropping today in areas of California, with the nation's forecast beginning in the west. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Some substantial help from Mother Nature. It looks to be on the way for fire-ravaged parts of Southern California, as not only will the strongest remaining wind gusts wind down through the day today, but a disturbance brings enough of an increase in moisture to lead to cooler conditions, with sprinkles and some showers starting later Saturday. Red flag warnings do remain in place to start out the day today, with dangerous conditions still in store as the relative humidity stays quite low through the early part of this Friday. As the next storm finally takes shape over the west, rainfall of up to a ½ inch is expected around downtown Los Angeles from late Saturday into Monday morning, with up to an inch of rain for places such as Santa Barbara and San Diego, and higher amounts up to at least 2 inches for the mountains north of LA and east of San Diego. That same storm heading for Southern California passes southward through the Intermountain West today, with some snow from around the Idaho-Montana border through Wyoming and into north-central Colorado. An afternoon shower may even be able to sneak towards Salt Lake City. A separate storm will drop some snow on parts of the northern plains and the upper Midwest, including much of North Dakota this morning and as far east as northwestern Wisconsin by the end of the day, with dry conditions for much of the rest of the plains. Cold air remains over the south with fairly strong high pressure overhead, but rising temperatures into the weekend should help to melt the snow and ice following the unusual winter storm from earlier this week, with mostly precipitation-free conditions along the eastern seaboard, outside of some flurries for parts of West Virginia and western Pennsylvania and New York, with more organized snow showers downwind of Lakes Ontario and Erie. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Within minutes of taking the oath of office on Monday, President Trump has signed a slew of executive orders in the first week of his second term. Correspondent Clayton Neville has a recap of orders and actions, including on immigration, trade, energy, DEI, releasing classified files, over 1,500 pardons, birthright citizenship, and more.
President Trump often talked on the campaign trail about what he would do on day one back in the Oval Office. Well, week one has brought a lot of executive orders.
We're not finished yet. We got a long way to go.
The president declared national emergencies on immigration and on energy.
And now we're going to go and drill, baby, drill and do all the things that we've wanted to do and bring your costs down, your prices down.
He's directing more federal troops to the southern border and ordering more construction of a border wall there. The order also immediately ended the use of the CBP One App's immigration functions. Cartels are declared terrorists, and Trump is trying to end birthright citizenship. The week also brought thousands of January 6th rioters pardoned and numerous other pardons.
Next, we have a set of pardons for peaceful pro-life protesters who were prosecuted by the Biden administration for exercising their First Amendment rights.
Do you know how many?
I believe it's 23, sir.
23 people were prosecuted. They should not have been prosecuted.
The executive order is wide-ranging, including the release of government documents in high-profile assassinations.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed.
There were plenty of orders that made headlines, but others that caught global attention, including a memorandum establishing an American first trade policy and ending DEI within the federal government. I'm Clayton Neville.
While he did not fly there to be in person, President Trump made his presence known at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, with both a message and a warning about tariffs, trade, and the war in Ukraine. Sagar Meghani files this report.
President Trump is giving global elites an ultimatum. In a virtual address to the World Economic Forum, the president took a carrot and stick approach.
My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts.
But if they don't?
But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt.
The president also addressed the Russia-Ukraine war.
One thing very important, I really would like to be able to meet with President Putin soon and get that war ended. And that's not from the standpoint of economy or anything else. It's from the standpoint of millions of lives are being wasted. Beautiful young people are being shot.
He'd earlier blamed the OPEC Plus alliance of oil exporters of keeping oil prices too high during the war, fueling Russia's economy.
If the price came down, the Russia-Ukraine war would end immediately. Right now, the price is high enough that war will continue. You got to bring down the oil price. You got to end that war. They should have done it long ago. They're very responsible, actually, to a certain extent for what's taking place. Millions of lives are being lost.
And says if oil prices came down,
the Russia-Ukraine war would end immediately.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and other leaders in the GOP are saying that any federal disaster aid for the California wildfires come with conditions, something that Democrats and members of the California congressional delegation are blasting as both unprecedented and playing with people's lives. All this as the president plans to be in California today to survey the damage in the Los Angeles area following a stop in North Carolina to see the response to Hurricane Helene. Sue Aller reports.
President Trump has threatened to withhold funds and link aid for California fire victims to an increase in the debt limit. Democrat Congressman Mike Levine voiced his opinion on the social media platform X.
The idea of leveraging California's recovery to score political points is a betrayal of the very Americans they claim to serve. Disaster aid should never be held hostage. Californians and all Americans deserve better.
In an interview that aired on Fox Wednesday night, President Trump claimed that California's fish conservation efforts were causing fire hydrants to run dry. Democrat Congressman Ted Lieu said that simply is not true.
The reservoir was offline because it was undergoing repairs. Now, there's an investigation as to, well, why is that when there was a, potential fire that could be coming, but nothing to do with fish.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, along with other Republicans, have suggested that aid should come with conditions.
When the state and local officials make foolish policy decisions that make the disaster exponentially worse, we need to factor that in.
The president also mentioned a water restoration declaration that California Governor Newsom supposedly refused to sign, but no such document exists. I'm Sue Aller.
When we return on America in the Morning, cash for ICE and Trump's cryptocurrency reserve. Just two of the stories you'll hear after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. Police in Nashville investigating the shooting at Antioch High School that left 2 students, including the shooter, dead and another teen injured, have found a troubling connection. ABC News is reporting that a social media account connected to the Nashville suspected teen shooter may have been in contact with the social media account of the teenager alleged to have opened fire inside a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin last month. Authorities also say that Solomon Henderson, the 17-year-old student who allegedly opened fire in the school's cafeteria, had a Pinterest account that featured photos of past school shooters, including from Parkland, Florida, and Uvalde, Texas. In addition, Nashville's WSMV-TV is reporting that the AI-based weapons detection system installed in Antioch High School, which was functioning, failed to detect the gun used during the shooting. America in the Morning continues. As the Trump administration starts to carry out raids to catch illegal migrants, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has been left with only a fraction of the money it needs to detain people living in the United States illegally. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Trump administration has not said publicly how many immigration detention beds it needs to house people in the U.S. illegally while they're being processed and arrangements are being made to deport them. But Immigration Customs Enforcement has a budget only to detain about 41,000 people, and there are an estimated 11.7 million people living in the U.S. illegally. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that it'll cost about $165 per day for a bed for one adult. Right now, ICE detains immigrants at its processing centers, privately operated detention facilities, local prisons, and jails. But it has no facilities to detain entire families. Families account for about a third of arrivals at the U.S. southern border. I'm Donna Warder.
President Donald Trump is defending his decision to revoke the security detail of some of his former top advisors, including former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and National Security Advisor John Bolton, despite concern of ongoing threats against them from Iran. Trump had previously signed an executive order during his first day in office revoking the security clearances of 49 former intelligence officials, including Bolton, who's been an outspoken critic of Trump since Trump says he fired him and Bolton claimed to have resigned. President Trump, along with Bolton and Pompeo, still remain under threat after a drone strike approved by Trump killed Iranian General Soleimani in 2020. An Italian court has ruled on an appeal by American Amanda Knox in her slander conviction. Correspondent Mike Hempen is following the case.
The court confirmed the slander conviction against Knox for accusing an innocent man of murdering her British flatmate 17 years ago. Knox appealed the conviction after a European Court of Human Rights ruled her rights had been violated by police failure to provide a lawyer and adequate translator during a long night of questioning days after her roommate's murder. The slander conviction has survived multiple appeals. After the latest ruling, Knox posted on X saying, quote, "I've just been found guilty yet again of a crime I didn't commit." I'm Mike Hempen.
Back here at home, New York City is known for many things, including skyscrapers above ground and rats below. Rodents are struggling to get through winter, as we learn from correspondent Ed Donahue.
Extreme cold in New York City has been rough for people and for rats. New York's rat czar, Kathleen Karate, says this type of cold stresses out rats and puts them in their burrows. It means the city doubles down on efforts to find them and get rid of them. The city's wild rat species, called the Norway rat or brown rat, doesn't hibernate in winter, but does become less active. Karate says the cold also suppresses breeding, which is really the rat's superpower. One rat researcher says some of the animals likely will freeze to death, especially if they're already sick or malnourished. I'm Ed Donahue.
President Trump has been busy issuing orders that affect the tech industry, but none with potentially more impact of establishing a cryptocurrency reserve and banning central bank digital currencies. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
President Trump has signed yet another landmark technology bill that will establish a digital asset stockpile, according to a White House press release. Trump appears to be trying to make good on his promise to become the crypto president. One quote of President Trump from the release states, "The digital asset industry plays a crucial role in innovation and economic development in the United States, as well as our nation's international leadership." He also pledges to support the responsible growth and use of digital assets, blockchain technology, and related technologies across all sectors of the economy. Multiple lawmakers and state officials introduced bills to launch the Strategic State Bitcoin Reserve, in a move to prepare for a national reserve based on Bitcoin. President Trump also appointed Mark Udea as acting U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's chair. And probably most impactful, President Trump issued an order prohibiting agencies from undertaking any actions to establish, issue, or promote central bank digital currencies. For more crypto updates, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Let's wrap up the week in sports. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
There will be no record-setting 25th singles title for Novak Djokovic at this year's Australian Open. The Joker retired with a left leg injury after dropping the first set of his semifinal this morning against Alex Zverev, who will play in Sunday's men's final. The women's final is tomorrow morning. American Madison Keys faces top seed and defending champion Aryna Sabalenka. The NHL leading Capitals shut out the Kraken 3-0, 22 saves for Charlie Lindgren. Alex Ovechkin had an empty netter for his 875th career goal. He's just 20 away from passing Wayne Gretzky. Bruins blanked the Senators. Utah shut out the Wild. Wins for the Golden Knights, Oilers, Hurricanes, Red Wings, Rangers, Flames, Ducks, and Predators. NBA, the Mavericks surprised the West leading Thunder 121-115. Lakers slashed the Celtics 117-96. Nikola Jokic had 35 points and posted his fifth straight triple-double to lead the Nuggets past the Kings. That makes 20 triple-doubles for Jokic to lead the association this season. 150 for his career. That's third all-time. Spurs slammed the Pacers in Paris. Victor Wembanyama with 30 in his first NBA game in his homeland. Wins for the Clippers, Blazers, Warriors, Raptors, and Bucks. Free agent outfielder Jurickson Profar takes a 3-year, $42 million offer from the Braves after his big bounce-back season with the Padres last year. And NFL Conference Championships coming up on Sunday. In the NFC, it's the Commanders at the Eagles. Then in the AFC, the Bills play the Chiefs. That's Friday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, keep an eye out for flight risk after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Actor Mel Gibson is in the director's chair for a new film about a hitman on a plane. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Flight Risk.
In theaters now, we have a January thriller with significantly more plane than the movie Plane.
Deputy Harris? Darryl Booth. Hope you like flying.
Mel Gibson sits back into the director's chair to pilot Flight Risk, about a U.S. Marshal escorting a witness from Nowheresville, Alaska to testify in the trial of a crime boss.
Pay attention. That's the good part.
One small snag, the pilot of the plane they're on is an unhinged hitman.
Moretti is very disappointed in you, Winston, and he wants you dead.
I can't say Flight Risk is a brilliant movie, and it's a huge step down in quality from Gibson's previous work like The Passion of the Christ, but he still shows off his skills as a watchable director.
You hear that? Looks military.
You think he's there to help? He's there to shoot you down.
90% of the film takes place in a small prop plane in the air, which leaves the cast of Michelle Dockery, Topher Grace, and Mark Wahlberg to deliver sometimes corny and cliched dialogue. However, they make the in-between moments work well enough.
I never flew a fugitive before.
Government witness, not a fugitive.
Ready to go?
With the production value of a bottle episode of a series, the film evokes a TV movie of the week feel with an occasional dash of thrills.
Is it always this bumpy?
You get used to it.
Still, with a breezy 91-minute running time, it's a decent, if not utterly predictable, slice of pulp entertainment.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
Flight Risk gets 3 Wahlberg bald caps out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
Even the Los Angeles wildfires can't stop Hollywood. The nominations for the 97th Annual Academy Awards have been revealed. Correspondent Haya Panjwani takes a look at who has a chance to win an Oscar.
This has certainly been a difficult time for Los Angeles, where many members of our film community, industry work and live. But the last several weeks have proven what we already know to be true. Our film industry and Los Angeles are resilient. And for almost a century, the Oscars have brought us together to unite and celebrate our global film community.
Emilia Perez leads the Oscar nominations with 13, setting a record for a non-English language film. Another musical, Wicked, the smash Broadway adaptation, came with nearly as many nominations. John M. Chu's lavish Wizard of Oz riff scored 10 nominations, including Best Picture and acting nods for its stars, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. The nominees for Best Picture are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. The Oscars will be held March 2nd in Los Angeles. I'm Haya Panjwani.
America in the Morning for Friday, January 24th, 2025, is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.